All right, day 2 of sandblasting. So my sandblasty cabinet that I built works, but it does a lot of stuff kicks out, especially because I did a bunch more blasting on that wheel and found out that at certain angles it just shoots all of the stuff right back out. So there's a bunch of it on the ground over there, and all of my little brooms have disappeared. So I need to build something better. The other thing that happened, which was really unpleasant, was about an hour or two after I was done and I was inside the house, my eyes started really hurting, like I'd gotten sand in them. And since what I'm using is glass beads, that was particularly disconcerting. So fortunately, they're the slightest bit of red right now, like just the veins are a little bit more pronounced. So I irritated them, but I clearly didn't do any damage. But I need to not do that again. So what I'm going to do, I have that box left over from the water heater replacement. We had to replace our water heater twice in 3 months. Yeah. I'm going to try and use that and a sheet of plexiglass to build a more contained booth. It's going to still be janky. It's going to be all taped together and whatnot. But I just need it to last long enough to sandblast like 6 wheels. Maybe 8 if I get 2 more in the meantime. But that's literally all it has to survive for, so I don't have to build a really nice one right now. Eventually, I think I want to build one out of a plastic tub so that I can store it up in the attic of the garage when I'm using it. But for now, this will do. It just has to be big enough to contain a wheel with room to move it around, because the little gun I have does not work tipped. It needs to be pretty much horizontal. So I need to be able to put the wheel in every position. And it needs to have a window so I can see into it, and it needs to be mostly contained. I'm not going to worry. I'm not putting gloves in the way they usually do. I'm just going to cut some holes and do something to sort of minimize the stuff coming out of those holes. But that's going to be it. We're going to work on that right now. So I think I'm done. So very simply, took the box, folded those ends over, taped them down. The inner ones, I'll see if I can show you effectively, are set up the way they are so that if stuff hits, it'll land inside the box, not inside the seam. And then this is a piece of the other one, taped on that side. This side's just going to be so I can tuck it in. And then I folded this edge to, again, kind of encourage stuff to stay inside the box. Piece of plexi, taped at the bottom, inside, so again, stuff falls back in. These are my holes. I could have just gone to Harbor Freight and bought 2 of the gloves. It's like $30 for a set of them, but couldn't be bothered. But I made little sort of windows to minimize, again, crap falling out of it. So the hose is in. This is an extra bit of hose that I had. It's kind of short. I just figured it'd be easier to stick that in and tape it than keep pulling my hose in and out of it until I'm done with it. And I think this should have plenty of space to do the wheels in it whatever way I need to. And because it's all just smooth and flat at the bottom, I should be able to sweep up most of the stuff, sift it, and reuse it. So yeah, I think I'm going to try and find a light that I can stick in here. All right, so got one of my wheels in here, about to blast it. I did some test blasting, and it got this paint off really nicely. And then I went in with a fine Scotch-Brite on my little tool and did some cleanup, and that seems like it does a pretty good job of helping me get rid of the little gouges and stuff. So I'm gonna attempt to blast this entire wheel. I'm hoping the blaster will take off I can do this to get the worst of it off, but hopefully the blaster will get the residue from the weights off. Because if I can get all this blasted and get the other side cleaned up, I'll be in really good shape. This will then just need a polish and it'll be ready to go. The lip's a little cruddy, but I think I can blast that too, and that should be just fine. So yeah, let's give it a shot. So here we go. I'm going to see how this works. This is genuinely the first time I tried. I put a little light in there to help illuminate. You're getting a lot of glare, I know, but there's nothing I can do about that. Okay, I'm definitely getting a lot in my face. so I'm not sure where that's coming from. I think it's coming mostly out of the armholes here. You know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to add another layer of fabric on the outside to not make stuff sort of fall down more. Alright, so I now have basically an outside curtain and an inside curtain. The outside one mostly just to get the stuff to fall straight down rather than bounce up into my eyes. And oh yeah, that's much better. I'm not really getting anything now. That's cleaning that up real nice. Not getting every last little bit off because some of this is probably either rubber that's stuck itself on there over the years or like a sealant. So there's some I'm gonna have to clean up after, but it's getting 90+% of it off. Definitely parts where it comes off easier than others. This sort of barrel here, really happy to let go. The face is definitely less so. All right. Swept, sifted, loaded back in. I'm going to try two different things now. Well, I'm going to try one major thing, which is I'm going to shoot in the other direction, so I'm not shooting towards the open door, or the door opening rather, in hopes of getting less to fall out the gaps there. So here we are. I stopped filming at some point because it was just sandblast till I used it up, filter, sandblast, filter, sandblast. It got very redundant and very boring very quickly. But I've got it basically done. There's still bits and pieces here, but the law of diminishing returns basically hit. I've got enough off now that it's not going to gum up the little Scotch-Brite pad thingies on this when I start trying to polish it. It's no worse than I expected before I got it. There's a big chunky, it's not even a chunk, but there's a big ding here. The area around each of these is kind of chewed up. There's a couple bad ones there, and there's a couple chewed up bits here. Other than that, there's lots of little stuff. But this one here and this one are the only ones that really concern me at all as far as being able to polish them so that they're not really noticeable. Other than that, it's in pretty good shape. I need to clean up that lip. I've decided I'm not sandblasting the back after what a pain it was. I am going to go at the old weight goo there, probably with the same tool, just to see if I can get a bunch of that off. Overall, it worked. It wasn't amazing, but it was definitely way easier than trying to do this lots of other ways that I saw. It took a lot longer than I'd hoped, just mostly it's because sorry, my finger was in the way. It took a lot longer than I'd hoped, mostly just because the little tank on that is so small that it's a constant stop and refill, stop and refill, stop and refill. And I definitely have a scattering of glass beads on the floor, but honestly most of it is from opening it and trying to get the glass beads out to refill the thing with. So it did a pretty good job. It wasn't amazing, but it was miles better than just doing it in that cardboard box I had before, or just doing it in the open. So now what I'm going to do is, I think, put a fresh pad on this, maybe even a coarser one, and attack those spots, see if I can bring them down and blend them in a little bit. So the compressor won't shut up, but I want to go inside. I'm not done yet, but I'm definitely making progress. I was able to clean up a lot of this. The big bad stuff is still here, but a lot of it's less noticeable. I've managed to get a lot of the like lips off of stuff where it was actually like, it wasn't just hit in, but there was a little like bit that was pushed up. I managed to get a lot of those off, including especially around the lug holes. The lug holes will look a lot cleaner now. Tried a couple of different kinds of things to polish it with. These things and the white rouge that's supposed to be for aluminum really didn't do anything. That was kind of a washout. This mother's polish works, but I get a blackish polish to it. Like, it definitely darkens the surface, and I'm sure that's because of all of the scratches in it getting filled with the black polish. So that I didn't really like. The best polish I'm actually getting is with these things, but they're inconsistent. Like, there's no way to just polish the whole thing. It ends up skipping around or back and forth, and you end up with, like, that's a lot of what makes the surface look so inconsistent right now, is the little sort of edges of that. I used some, I think this was double-aught steel wool. I can't see the thing from here, but it's not, I'm pretty sure it was double-aught, possibly triple-aught steel wool by itself, and then also with the polish. That seemed to help sort of make the transitions between the marks from this less obvious. I even tried a little bit of like just paint compound just for the hell of it. But it's getting there. I mean, it looks a hell of a lot better than it did when I started, so I'm happy with that, but it's definitely still got a ways to go to look perfect. Well, not perfect, but right now it's still kind of weird looking. I keep putting my hand in front of the thing. Sorry, I don't have a stand on this right now. So I still have to figure out how to get that more consistent sort of grain to it or polish to it. I'm gonna have to do a little more research, but like the last thing I saw was basically what I was doing, but I seem to be missing a step. Like, it seems like I need to get another step in there. Maybe I need to get some like high grit sandpaper and wet sand it first, because I don't seem to, that might help me get this graining, the inconsistent markings out, so that I can get this more. I don't want this to be a mirror shine. I want to be very clear. I want a satiny shine, because that's what I think looks right on these, but I need a consistent satiny shine. So I guess we'll see. Anyway, I'm done for the night. It's definitely very nice compared to what it looked like at the beginning of the day. I got rid of all that horrible gold, whatever it was. I also cleaned up the lip here and over here, so that when I get the tires mounted, they'll seal nicely. I think I'm gonna, where is it? I think I need to check this hole too, see if I can clean that up a little bit. These I'm gonna paint. The little kidneys, I've decided I'm gonna paint, because I got some of the paint out of some of them, but it all looks like these were black and then were overpainted with the same gold as everything else. And I got the paint out of some of them, but because of both the texture and the undercoat, a lot of it, undercoat of black, a lot of it didn't come off. So I think I'm gonna, once I get this all polished up the way I want it to, I'm gonna mask it off very carefully. I'm gonna shoot these black, or brush these black. So I think that'll also make it pop a little bit more. But yeah, enjoying this project. Get back to it another day. Okay, day 3. I thought it had recorded the previous bit, but it didn't. We are now working with sandpaper to try and get a more consistent pattern. The whole thing's been gone over with 600 grit, which, as it turns out, you can see there's deeper scratches in it than I had anticipated there being, like grain scratches, in that you can still see a lot of, like, the darker, like the lighter stuff is what's been sanded, the darker stuff is what hasn't been. So this whole thing had a graining to it, clearly, that I have mucked with in many places while I was grinding that was not visible before. Like this whole area, the graining now doesn't go, I was gonna say it doesn't go in the right direction, but it just doesn't go anymore. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to make sure I do all of my sanding just consistently one way, I think. I think that's the only way I can keep it from mucking up. I'm wondering if I almost should go with a more aggressive grit, like a 400, to put that grain, either put that grain in or get this grain out, and then go down from there. Not really sure. This is all experimental. I'm just figuring it out. So I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to, because I'm very clearly skimming the tops of things with the 600, and there's whole like shapes to this that I'm not, like there's whole grooves to this that I'm not even touching with that. So I think I'm going to get the 400 out, and I'm going to sand the whole thing with 400 in a circular pattern, and then I'm going to come back again with the 600, and then from there I'll do the 800 and the 1000, and see, that should get me in a very good place. Again, I'm not trying to get this wheel perfect, because it's just too beat up to ever be perfect, but I want to reduce the visibility of a lot of the little issues it's got, and I want to get the surface a lot more consistent throughout. So yeah, I think 400 might even let me get some more of these dents and dings and stuff out that I wasn't getting, that the 600 just isn't going to even touch. Yeah, so I'm going to set you up on time lapse again, and I'm going to try a new experiment with this. All right, so that's been sanded now, 400, 600, 800, 1000 grit. It definitely looks a lot better. I'm still not getting everything out, but that's fine. I'm not expecting perfection. There's definitely like a little speckling, I think it's corrosion pocking, and there's still the graining, which in some places I've messed up with my grinding, but it looks way better. The big problem spots are less obvious. A lot of the little spots are either gone or nearly gone. I'm just waiting for this to completely dry. It's pretty much there, but once it's dry, I'm going to go at it with the mag and aluminum polish and see. I think that should get me to what I want, because this is pretty close. I want these to be a satin shine, not a chrome shine. So I think this applied to the 1000 grit should get me right where I want to be. I like the softer shine on slop mags. I think it just looks better. It looks more correct. Heck yeah, look at that. Look at that. That is a really nice shine. That's exactly what I want. That's exactly the sort of shine I was going for. That sort of satiny shimmer kind of. Shimmer's not the right word. That implies little fleck bits. But just this satiny glow shine. That's exactly what I wanted. Could use another go at with the polish, but I think I'm done for right now, because I'm just realizing I'm going to need to wipe the whole thing down with, at the very least, prep, possibly mineral spirits, to be able to paint these. Like, this whole area is going to have to get wiped down, so it's probably going to have to get repolished anyway. But, sorry about my fingers. I don't know where my mount that I usually have this on is, but that's exactly what I want. Yeah, that's the look I was going for, and holy cow, does this look better than when I started, huh? Compare this to the you know what? I can compare this to the other one. There we go. That's the other one. Still dirty, still painted gold. No repairs on the scratches or anything. No polishing. This is the one I've been working on. It's a hell of an upgrade, huh? Like, these were gross. These were disgusting. The guy was, frankly, I think, surprised to get as much as he did for him from me. and this looks great. It's not perfect. It's got its little war wounds and whatnot, but it's also, you know, an original rim from way back in the day. And then there were two. So this is the one you saw me do. This is the other one. Having made all my mistakes on this one it was much easier. I could make my mistakes much faster. But yeah, no, this is basically got the same process as this one. Sandblasted all the pits and damage and whatnot, ground, and then the whole thing I went over with the fiber discs to sort of remove the worst of the texture from sandblasting, and then 400, 600, 800, 1000 grit sanding, and then polishing. And they're not quite the same. Like, this one's a little bit shinier than that one. I'm not sure exactly why, but it doesn't really matter because they're going to be on opposite sides of the van, so the exact shininess not matching is not going to matter. So what I need to do now on both of these, I wanted to get to this stage, so we could do this once. On both of these, I need to scrub this sort of ring here with Prepsol to get all the wax and grease and whatnot off. And then I got to mask off these kidneys so I can spray them black. I think I'm going to spray the backs of these black too, just because they ain't so pretty. So I just realized you probably want to watch this, so I'm now filming it. Sorry you didn't get to watch it from nothing, but it occurred to me like how satisfying it is to do this. Probably means it's also satisfying as hell to watch. There we go. Two wheels with the slots painted. Don't think I got... sorry, I don't know how much my head was blocking there. I don't think I got any overspray on this one. There's one tiny spot on the other one where a little bit of paint snuck between a few of the pieces of tape. I think on both of these, I'm going to wait till this is a little... No, I might just do it. The edges need the slightest little bit of cleanup. I'm probably going to come out with a Q-tip and some lacquer thinner and just neaten up some of the edges where it looks like when I was cutting it, there's a couple places where it was a little too ragged and it left a little mark, but just need to clean that slightest up, clean the tiniest little bit of overspray out of the other wheel, and then these are restored and they're going to get, like I said, another polish. Though actually, given how much brighter they are after wiping out the metal polish, I don't think I'm going to put another round of metal polish. This has got too many little pits and holes and stuff, and the metal polish actually darkened it up a surprising amount. And so when I cleaned it, it brightened the whole thing back up again. So I think I'm just going to do a coat of car wax on the polished surfaces to just protect them, because this is raw aluminum, so this will oxidize. So I have the choice of constantly polishing it, or if I put a coat of car wax on, that'll hold it for a while. And if I remember to wax it regularly, it should keep them looking nice, because it just doesn't expose the raw aluminum to air the way it would otherwise. And the car wax shouldn't darken everything as much as the residue from the polish did. But yeah, I'm super happy with these. Obviously there's still pits and dents and stuff in them because they weren't perfect to begin with, but I think they look great. I I think they look amazing. All right, and my tires have arrived. So now I just got to get those mounted and balanced. Oh, hell yeah. This turned out to be way too complicated because the guy I usually take my wheels to wasn't available. So I spent a couple of hours driving around trying to find some place that both had the free time and felt confident mounting these. They're now going to need a little bit of cleanup because I had to use a liquid soap thing to get the tires on because they're so thick. But these are ready to get mounted on the van, so let's get that going. So, real quick, in case some of you are on the younger side and have never encountered these are what is known as Unilug wheels. If you look, the wheel holes are slotted rather than, the wheel holes are slotted rather than a single round hole. What you use is this style of lug nut. So yeah, you take your shank lug nut and this offset washer, because this will fit 4.5, 4 1/4, and 5. If you have 4.5, you install it this way. If you have 4 1/4, there's a different lug nut that has the hole centered on it. And if you have 5, not 5, if I said 5.5, I meant 5, you install it with the washer this way, and that aligns it and takes up the space. And so they could make 1/3 as many wheels basically through this. These went out of style because they're kind of a pain in the ass to put on. They're kind of a pain in the ass to take off. If somebody doesn't know what they're doing and just uses the nuts with just a round washer, or uses the cone style lug nuts like these, which are what most cars use these days, these are incredibly dangerous. So you have to have the right lug nuts and the right washers. And here we are. New wheels on the back, torque thrusts on the front. I think it looks pretty good. I'm very happy with how this has come out. So these wheels are not perfect. They have nicks and gouges in them, but they're really hard to see once it's mounted on the vehicle. So I'm perfectly happy with that. So that'll do me for this video. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.